Hi, good morning, and good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time you find this video, I hope that you are well. And I wanted to come to you today because I wanted to talk about sometimes we will sacrifice our happiness. And that doesn't have anything to do with the Lord because the Lord is not really concerned about if you're happy or not. He's concerned about your soul, your eternal soul. That's what the Lord wants. It wants you to do right and repent. So happiness is more for us. But we find joy in the fullness of God, of the Lord Jesus Christ. But I wanted to talk a little bit about IPV and DV. IPV being intimate partner violence, and DV, of course, domestic violence. So while I speak on that, there are some things that can cause or have an origination of why certain things happen, and that would be the etiology of some kind of causations, not just for diseases, um, but for domestic violence in general. And I know I get hung up on just that phrase because I'm used to talking about that, but it is also called intimate partner violence. So someone that you're intimate with, someone that's close to you, very, very close to you, um, those are the ones that can harm you the most. And it is very hard to get out of a situation like that. It doesn't make a difference. And most of the time, these things happen because of something that's happened in the past. There is a historical narrative and historical things and events and incidents that have happened that have led this person to become an abuser, whether they're physically abusive, whether they're verbally abusive, they like to call you names, degrade you, talk to you in a condescending manner, call you all kinds of idiots and stuff like that. And sometimes we don't realize that we're in an abusive relationship, but you are. And that's what I wanted to talk about because sometimes we don't realize that. We don't realize what we're in. And you have to take the time to look. And some people will sacrifice their happiness because they want a man or they want a woman. So they will do whatever is necessary to keep that person, even though that person is toxic, even though that person doesn't treat them with respect, even though that person is always talking about them. You deserve better. And I'm talking to anybody who's listening. You deserve better. You deserve better than to be treated like a second class citizen in your own relationship. Okay. And what I'm talking about is somebody that doesn't see your value because they've been raised in an abusive situation that they just portray that onto you. They just project that onto you. And you may not have been raised in the same type of abusive and verbally abusive situation. It's hard to change that. It's very hard. And they say that it takes 21 days to change a habit. Well, it's probably going to take a little bit longer to change abusive ways, but it starts when the person actually realizes they're being abusive. Some people say they're not being abusive, but they don't want to look at the reality. And if you've been in child abuse, you can become an abuser. Point blank, period. It's a denial thing. I'm not an abuser. I don't hit anybody. Okay. But what about verbal abuse? Blinking for effect. Calling people names and degrading people and making people feel less than, that's abuse. I know people don't like talking about that because verbal abuse plays with your mental, and mental abuse is bad as well. So you have your verbal, you have your mental, your psychological, your emotional abuse. So mental is psychological and your emotional abuse. So if all that stuff has happened, you need to go somewhere and talk to somebody, get some help. And I'm talking not about help where you need to just beg people for assistance with finances. If you need that, get it. But you need to sit down with somebody and explain to them how you feel, because pent up anger turns into rage, and rage can turn into something very dangerous. So we want to get our anger under control, and we want to be able to treat people with kindness and respect, not in an aggressive tone because you're a manipulator and you know how to manipulate people. But after you use people and abuse people, you've got to stop. Okay? Some people who are abusive, they don't see that they are abusive. They deny that they are, but they are. And they probably know that they are. Deep down, they know that they're being an abusive person. So if you have a whole bunch of anger and rage and you want to get some assistance, I hope that you do. And if you're going through domestic violence or abuse and you are in a situation with an intimate partner and you don't know what to do, call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE, SAFE 7233. Now, somebody's like, wait, what? There's other numbers I have too. And if you don't want to call that one, because like, I think that I'm not in a domestically violent situation. Okay, well, then you can call this number. Love is respect. That is a very good thing to think about. Love is respect. And the number is 1-866-331-8453. If you don't want to call the National Domestic Violence Hotline, call Love is Respect. Call that number. They're open 24 hours. And figure out if you're in an abusive situation. I remember when I was going through DV, I had to figure out if it was in fact DV, because I said, the person that I loved, the person that I thought I loved, there's no way. There's no way this person is abusive to me. They just have a bad temper, which is another part of the etiology of why abuse happens, because there's anger management problems that the person hasn't addressed, right? So if there's anger management problems, that is a causation, or that is an origination of where some of that comes from. So that is what we want to talk about. And I don't know, I've never had to study the etiology from an abuser's viewpoint. Particularly, there is something that happened in the abuser's life that causes them to treat people in such a manner that they deem it okay. Whether they think they have a right to control people, whether it's been taught to them at a young age that violence is how you put people in control or you control people, that was shown to you, that was taught to you by somebody. It's a pattern of behavior, it's a learned behavior, or you can teach yourself to do that. So I want you to think about this. If you find yourself in an abusive situation and you don't know, the first thing to do is research. The second thing to do is find other people who may know what you're in, and they can look at your situation objectively and tell you, yes, that person is abusive. Because we have people who are always trying to control us. But you must put up healthy boundaries so that they can't do that. And when you have healthy boundaries, you choose who to let in at what time. Okay? So I didn't want to stay on here long. I just wanted to talk about that. So don't sacrifice your happiness because of a person that you're trying to be with. Okay? So I hope you guys will be blessed, motivated, always inspired to do what God has laid on your heart. Take care and have an amazing day. This is T. Drake. Take care.